अद्भुत
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Welcome, it's great to see you all. This is the most sublime way of reviving our Krishna consciousness. We're all originally Krishna conscious entities. And between the middle finger and the thumb in the right hand, and on each bead we chant one Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then we go to the next beat. Hare Krishna, just like that. Shall we begin? Let's say together. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Ganga Devi, Jamuna Devi, Tulsi Devi, Bhakti Devi ki jai. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories Glory to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Rahasyam Yatuttamam
Saevayam Maya Tedya
Saeva Mayatya
Yoga Prokta Puratana
Yoga Prokta Puratana
Bhakto Sime Sakha Cheti
Bhakto Sime Sakhati
Rahasyam Hetaduttamam.
Rahasyam Yatuttamam.
Please chant.
Saevayam mayati yadya
Sevayam Maya Tedya
yoga prokta puratana
Yoga Prokta Puratana
bhaktosi me sakha cheti
Bhakto Sime Sakhati
rasyam veda uttamam
Rahasyam Yatuttamam.
Saevayam Maya Tedya
Saevayam Mayatya
Yoga Prokta Puratana
Yoga Prokta Puratana
Bhakto Sime Sakha Cheti
Bhakto Sime Sakhati
Rahasyam Hiyataruttamam
Rahasyam Yatuttamam. Saevayam Mayatedhya Yoga Prokta Puratana Bhakto Sime Sakha Cheti Rahasyam Hiya Etaduttamam.
Saevayam Mayatedhyam
Saevayam Maya Tedya
Yoga Prokta Puratana
Yoga Prokta Puratana
Bhakto Sime Sakhayati
Bhakto Sime Sakha Cheti Rahasyam. Oh, well. Oh, I'm sorry. Rahasyam Hetaduttamam.
Rahasyam Yatuttamam.
Oh, none of the ladies have a book. On this side they have books, this side they don't have books. And people are on their phones also. Yeah, come on. Good. There we go.
Saevayam Mayatedhyam
Puratana
Yoga Prokta Puratana Bhakto Sime Sakha Cheti Rahasyam Yatuttamam. Saevayam Maya Tedya Yoga Prokta Puratana Bhakto Sime Sakha Cheti Rahasyam Yatuttamam. The same Eva certainly I am this Maya by me
te
unto you
adya
today yoga the science of yoga prokta spoken puratana very old Bhakta,
Bhakta,
devotee,
devotee,
Asi,
Asi,
you are,
you are,
me,
me,
my,
my,
Sakha,
Sakha,
friend,
friend,
Cha,
Cha,
also,
also,
Iti,
Iti,
therefore, Rahasyam,
Rahasyam,
mystery,
mystery,
he, certainly, Etat,
Etat,
this, Uttamam,
Uttamam,
transcendental.
transcendental.
Translation. That very ancient science,
That
you don't have to repeat this time. Very enthusiastic, that's very good. Thank you. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. Purport. There are two classes of men, namely the devotee and the demon. The Lord selected Arjuna to be the recipient of this great science owing to his being a devotee of the Lord. But for the demon, it is not possible to understand this great mysterious science. There are a number of editions of this great book of knowledge. Some of them have commentaries by the devotees, and some of them have commentaries by the demons. Commentation by the devotees is real, whereas that of the demons is useless. Arjuna accepts Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And any commentary on the Gita following in the footsteps of Arjuna is real devotional service to the cause of this great science. The demonic, however, do not accept Lord Krishna as he is. Instead, they concoct something about Krishna and mislead general readers from the path of Krishna's instructions. Here is a warning. It's a warning about such misleading paths. One should try to follow the disciplic succession from Arjuna and thus be benefited by this great science of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master has opened my eyes, blinded by ignorance, with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I therefore must offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivash Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. So this is a very, very important verse in the Bhagavad Gita, and I encourage everybody who is a student of Bhagavad Gita to learn this by heart. It's pretty easy. So you see in the Sanskrit there's Yoga Prokta. You see that? Yoga Prokta, which means what? Huh?
Spoken yoga.
Yeah. So, but then in the translation, do you see anything about yoga in the translation? You see, what's the translation? This very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, because you are my devotee as well as my friend. Where in the translation do you see anything about yoga? Yes.
It says the transcendental mystery of the science.
True, but that's not it then. That's true. Nice, very good attempt, but it wasn't correct. Sorry. So where's the yoga come from in the translation? Yes, Bhakti Shan.
Well, is it the relationship aspect of it?
Yes. Yoga really means the relationship of love and service between the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And one method of doing that is the yoga postures. What they say, Hatha Yoga, Raja Yoga, etc. But the real meaning of yoga is not yoga postures, physical, but it's the relationship between the living entity and the Supreme. So that is what Lord Krishna is concentrating on in this chapter. And this chapter, noted as Transcendental Knowledge, he is going to give us knowledge about how we can develop and solidify the relationship that you and I have with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And you know what that's called? Transcendental Knowledge. That's the chapter, the title of this chapter. Yeah. So today, I thought when we're giving this talk, we'll talk about three things. What transcendental knowledge means, who is it for, and of what value is it? You got those three? What were those three? Yes.
It's what does the transcendental knowledge mean? What is the transcendental knowledge for? For whom?
Yes.
And
Forgot the last one, huh? And last one? I mean, it's really important, this last one. What was the last one? What's the value of it? What's in it for us? What's in it for you and me? So it's these three things. So, and you'll notice in the Sanskrit, in the word for word translation, there's this word called rahasyam. You see that rahasyam? And how is it translated? To mystery. And that mystery, it's also called rahasyam uttamam. Ut means above, and tama means darkness or ignorance, So this mystery, to solve or unlock the mystery that we're talking about, that mystery that is transcendental knowledge. Whites, vaccinated people, and unvaccinated people. Men, women, human, birds, beasts, insects, and demigods. That's called absolute truth or full reality. So this is what Lord Krishna is describing here, talking about. Something, we want to get that knowledge which is true for all times and in all circumstances and all places. And with that knowledge, will even survive and penetrate the curtain of death. This is a big deal. That knowledge is supposed to solve the puzzle of the questions like, who are you really? What will happen to you when you die? I don't want to die. Is there a way to escape death? If so, is there a God? And if there is a God, what is the process to know Him? That is the kind of thing we're talking about when we're talking about transcendental knowledge. And that is the kind of knowledge that Lord Krishna is about to reveal to Arjuna, and through Arjuna to all of us. As you know, there are many schools and universities in Philadelphia, in the United States, and around the world. And what do they call a school? Between a living person and a dead person. There are many institutions around the United States, in this Philadelphia, around the world, but none of them give that knowledge which distinguishes directly and a good understanding of what's the difference between a living person and a dead person. That knowledge is supremely important, and that's the knowledge that Lord Krishna is giving. You know, the CIA, Central Intelligence, you know. So the CIA has a motto, or it's an unofficial motto. It says, "And ye shall know the truth. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." You know that? That's the motto, the unofficial motto of the CIA. But political truth, no matter how developed, it reflected in that motto, will not set you free, because you'll remain in this material world, in this material body. Transcendental knowledge will set you free. And that's why Krishna is speaking, that transcendental knowledge. I'll give you a couple of verses from Bhagavad Gita translations where Krishna describes about transcendental knowledge. 4th chapter. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. This is that's a pretty strong statement. There is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, even if you are considered the most sinful of all sinners. Thank you. Even if we are considered the most sinful of all sinners, if you are situated on the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of misery. So, we want to know, how do you get on that boat? Let's get on. Let's get a ticket, right? And get on the boat of transcendental knowledge. So, the idea is that this transcendental knowledge will free us from death, repeated death. In the Vedic literature, it says, Tamasi ma, what is it? Jyoti gama, get out of the darkness and come to the light. Mrityu ma, amrita gamaya, get out of death and come to deathlessness. So this knowledge, it's described in the Vedic literature. This world is called Bhava Sindhu. You know this? Sindhu means what? Ocean. And Bhava? It means an ocean of birth and death. Because in an ocean, have anybody taken a cruise? Maybe you've flown over the ocean. And you look around, if you're over the ocean, you look this way, you can't see the end. You look that way, it's gigantic, it's vast. It's beginningless and endless, it seems. So practically that's how it is for the soul within this material world. One life after another, there's birth and death, and birth and death. And each life we have to struggle hard for existence. And it doesn't stop. And it goes on for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Until we get transcendental knowledge. Like an ocean, we don't know where this birth and death ends until we get the transcendental knowledge. This knowledge, when you were in school, you learned about very, very famous Greek philosophers. Any of them come to mind? Aristotle. And his teacher was Plato, and his teacher was Socrates. Yeah, very good, very good. And we learned these are the pillars of philosophy in the West. Socrates, Plato. So what was Socrates' very, very strong statement that showed that he was quite intelligent person. He said, my only knowledge is I know that I don't know. I know that I don't know. Just like we started this class, what did we say? Om agyanati vedandasya. I am in ignorance, right? So, but to stay in ignorance, we don't want to stay in ignorance. We need transcendental knowledge. And this transcendental knowledge in this chapter goes beyond Socrates, beyond Plato, beyond Aristotle. It's more complete, more pure, and more enlightening than even smart, great philosophers from Greece. It's really, this is really information, knowledge that's really out of the box. You don't get this knowledge by scrambling and figuring it out, even if you're very smart. It's coming from the spiritual realm to us, handed down. Well, that's what Krishna already explained in the first two slokas of Bhagavad Gita. So this is real information, real knowledge that's out of the box, and we can't get it just by trying to figure out what's going on around us. This transcendental knowledge is not to help you get more stuff to eat, to get a better salary, to be able to sleep nicely. No, that type of thing is there already in the animal species. Vedic literature says, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. The mission of this human life is to understand God and the spirit soul. And the mission of the human life is to acquire this transcendental knowledge. There's a popular movie, some of you might have even seen it. Back when I was growing up, they had a different version. It was called Mission Impossible. Have you heard that? Have you seen that? So what happens in Mission Impossible, you probably know. You know, the main character receives some kind of coded or recorded orders from a remote source, right? With details about a mission that he's supposed to accomplish. You know, you've seen, yeah, they see shaking hands, right? And that mission is very, very, very difficult. That's why it's called Mission Impossible. But is it possible? Yes. Yeah, because they're good. Yeah. The character is given the choice to accept the mission or not, isn't it? The same is true for all of us. There is a mission for you and I. If we choose to accept it or not. We may choose to accept it or not. But it is very difficult. But with the help of transcendental knowledge, Lord Krishna assures us that we can accomplish it. And unlike the movie, the information about the mission, if we choose to accept it, does not self-destruct, but remains available to us to refer to and meditate upon daily as long as we like, in the form of the Bhagavad Gita. So in this world, you got it right, you got the analogy right. Okay. You got a mission. We're in a mission impossible. Tough, but you can do it. In this world, there are many sources of information which aim to subtly and directly influence what you should do, pushing you to adopt one kind of mission or another. The most obvious kind is when you have advertisements. They still, I don't know if it still happens on Madison Avenue, but the ads used to come from Madison Avenue. Is it still? You still saying that? Madison Avenue. It's where the advertising people used to come. So those ads will say things like, Coke is the real thing. Right? So we know there's some purpose there. They want you to purchase their product, and that way they get some revenue, okay? But slightly more subtle than that kind of information is the information you might get from the field of journalism. Because in journalism, you know, the news, you watch the news. Who decides what's news and what's not news? In journalism, the reporters, did anybody go to journalism school here? No. Anyway, it's not that popular, but especially nowadays. But they taught you, they're supposed to be objective and not be biased, not to present one side over the other side, isn't it? To give everybody, that's the plan. Although, most people, when they really think about it, even professors, they say, you know something? You're never going to be unbiased and objective. Everybody has their spin. Everybody has their spin and their angle, isn't it? And even the networks and the corporations that produce the news, they have their interests and they're going to promote what they want versus what somebody else wants to say. Everybody's got a spin. Politicians, they present a slanted information so that you'll vote for them. Support their party, and in that way they can gain or stay in power. Everyone has their spin. Everyone has their motive. And these spins, from all these different sources of information, will mislead you and waste your time and energy because they distract you from the real mission of life. And they're on the mundane platform of the physical body, or the physical bodies of the family, and countrymen. They have nothing to do with you, the soul. They will ultimately, if you follow that mission, will lead you to frustration and disappointment. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yehi samsparsha jabhoga dukkayonaya evate. You know that? You know the verse? Very nice verse. It says, those people who are smart, they don't take pleasure in pursuing the senses, the pleasure that's derived from contact with the senses and their objects. Dukkayonaya evate means that kind of pleasure causes frustration and disappointment. And above that, over and above that, we're talking that there's always a slant or a spin that you're going to get, that somebody's trying to push you in to do their mission. And besides that, there are 4 defects that anybody on the mundane plane disqualifies them for giving you accurate, reliable information. Number 1, each one of us, whether you're a politician or a newscaster or a celebrity or a sports figure, our senses are imperfect. You can't even see your eyelid. But you can see the other side of the room. Imperfect senses. Making mistakes. You know, Gandhiji, he was a very intelligent person. He was leading, the Swaraj in India. But someone warned him, don't go to that meeting. You know that meeting? Don't go there to that meeting because there's danger. But he said, no. And he got shot. He was doing such great work for his country, but he also made that mistake. So imperfect senses, making mistakes, illusion. We are thinking we're in this body, we think we are the body when we're not the body. And even though we have these disqualifications, still we think, I know everything. I'm very intelligent. People should listen to me. That's called, that's called? Cheating. We're cheating. So all these things put together, there's a slant, and the information you're getting can't be very accurate. So it's true that Krishna also Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, also has his spin, has his slant. You know that? He's got his slant. Just like we said, everybody, even reporters, they have to acknowledge. Everybody's got a slant. Yes, and Krishna has his slant. But Krishna's opinion, however, and because he's God, Krishna's spin is absolute truth. At all times and all circumstances, and will actually give you tangible and lasting benefit. That's why he's called Suhrit. Suhrit means, really very close, dear friend, heartfelt friend. There are different kinds of friends, but he's called Suhit because he's a dear friend to everyone. His spin is simultaneously true in our interest and for our good, our ultimate good. There's something called Shreyas and Prayas. Have you heard this? Prayas means the good that you can get right away. We don't want something to satisfy us real quickly. Shreyas means that which is for our ultimate good. Why does a child have to go to school? When they start to go to school, they say, I don't want to go to school. But the parent says, no. This is important for your future. So that's Shreyas. So this Krishna is teaching us Shreyas. He's giving us knowledge that will be for our ultimate benefit. In the short run, it might be a little tough to handle. But in the long run, it will be wonderful for us. So, his spin is simultaneously true for our good, and since he is a perfect person, the knowledge we have the opportunity to get from him is infallible or transcendental, which we're talking about, that transcendental knowledge. So that was, who's the knowledge for? Yeah, humans. So Srila Prabhupada mentions, we were mentioning in the purpose, devotee or a bhakta. Bhakta means devotee. As a devotee, Lord Krishna was confident that Arjuna would not mess up the message and change it for his own purposes. You follow? He wasn't going to put his own spin on it. Now, Arjuna was a family man. He was married. You know that. He wasn't a sannyasi, a renunciant. He wasn't a scholar. He wasn't, an intellectual person, but a scientist, ascetic. But his exclusive qualification to understand Lord Krishna's message was that he was a Krishna Bhakta, a devotee of Krishna and a friend. Thus, he was perfectly in sync with Lord Krishna's purpose, and in that sense, he was one with Krishna. So how can you and I be recipients of this perfect transcendental knowledge? That most sublime knowledge that can free us from death? That is explained in this verse. We have to find a bhakta, a devotee. They can understand and they can tell us. Like a devotee like Arjuna. It's like when you go to the doctor and do you get a prescription? Yeah. And then they write on they put the doctor's name there someplace, right? And you read the bottle, and then it says the medicine there, and then what does it say after the medicine? What does it say? Take 3 times a day, or once a day, or with meals, or without meals, or something like that, isn't it? Yeah. And if there's some problem, you call your doctor. Right. But according to the prescription, you take the medicine. Now, you could say, my God, if this is really good medicine, if I take it, I'm supposed to take it says twice a day. How about if I take it 4 times a day? That should be even better. I'll get cured faster, right? Right? No? Why not?
Make you sick.
You have to take it according to the prescription of the doctor, right? That way, it'll work appropriately, and you'll get the benefit of the medicine. Similarly, this Krishna consciousness, Bhagavad Gita, transcendental knowledge, is curing our material disease, but it has to be taken according to the prescription on the bottle, and that bottle is right here. Krishna says, Bhaktosi me sakacheti. You got to get it from the devotee. You got to get it from the devotee. So you got to find who is a devotee. Who is a devotee? First of all, we saw already. Devotee means someone who's coming in disciplic succession or parampara. They didn't make up or come up, manufacture these ideas in their fertile brain, but they received it from their teacher, their spiritual teacher, who was also a devotee. And the original teacher was Krishna. So this is one quality of a devotee. You know, to know that that person should be coming into civic succession. They have their teacher who taught, and they'll teach the exact same thing their teacher taught. What's another symptom of a devotee? Actually, Krishna also was asked by Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, what are the symptoms of someone who's situated in transcendence, who's actually a recipient of transcendental knowledge? In the 9th chapter. So like I said, the writing on the bottle, right? So what did Krishna say? What Krishna said? Satatam kirtiyanto mam yatantascha dridharita namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. That person who's always chanting my glories, that person, that's the symptom of a great soul, a Mahatma, my devotee. Always chanting my glories. Satatam kirtayanto mam. So when the Beatles went to see Srila Prabhupada in London, outside of London, Titnurse was the name. So John Lennon, one of the prominent Beatles, asked Srila Prabhupada, there's so many people who say they have the truth, they can tell about God. How do I know which one is really a person I can trust? So that mantra is none different from Krishna, and that in
Hare Krishna. We turn the lights on in the back real quick. We're just going to do a couple quick announcements for the Sunday Feast sponsor. And then we'll go outside and honor Prasad. So today was the first day of Sunday school here in ISKCON Philadelphia. After a year being on Zoom, we're back in person. How did it go today, Mother Shobharani? Very nice. Good, good. It's nice to see all the children back here in Arti, Kirtan. So if you have a child by the ages of 3 years old to 12th grade, you're eligible to join the Sunday school. It's very nice for the parents. The parents can join the adult education here, and the children can go to the children's education. So if you're interested in having your child learn about Krishna consciousness within their age group, 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock every Sunday. Mother Shobarade, she's the head of the Sunday school. Raise your hand so everybody can see. There. If you have any questions, please reach out to her. I'd like to thank our Sunday Feast sponsors this week. We have several of them. First, we want to recognize Kaivalya Prabhu. He sponsored the Sunday Feast for his parents. Dr. Ram Narayan Mahajan, Ramchandra Prabhu, and Gun Manjari Devidasi. His elder brother, Vidyandhar Mahajan, and his younger sister, Pramila. So we want to offer our heartfelt prayers and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra on their behalf. So please raise your hand and chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And Kaivalya Prabhu, we have some Mahaprasad for you, as well as a garland. Krishna Prabhu, would you like to offer a garland? Kaivalya Prabhu. Maha sweets. Thank you, Kaivalya Prabhu and family. We also have a sponsor from Vishal Bajoria, in loving memory of his grandparents, Shri Vrindavan Bajoria and Srimati Prabhavati Bajoria. Vishal, I don't think is here. Vishal, he got really inspired and fired up from last week's Rath Yatra. Then he went to another festival in El Paso, Texas. They had a Rath Yatra in El Paso, Texas this weekend. So he got really inspired to do that. And he was sending pictures of, so he was involved in the serve out. He was taking pictures of their serve out and what they were doing there. So very, very inspired from our activities here. But Michelle's not with us tonight, but we're going to say a prayer. Again, chant, raise our hands up and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra for his grandparents. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And we have Ashish Bhatnagar and his family, in loving memory of his father on his death anniversary. So, Ashish, please come forward. I have a garland for you. Thank you. Mahaprasad sweets. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then also we have Ram Sham and his wife, Angelina. They also sponsored tonight. And prayers for their relatives and forefathers. So once again, let's chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Please come forward. Have some Mahaprasad. This is a little bit small. Give it to Mukund. Thank you very much. If you are interested in sponsoring the Sunday program, the Sunday Feast, it's a wonderful way to celebrate an occasion, feeding the Lord as well as feeding the devotees and getting the blessings. You can do so by going to the front desk, seeing Sita Devidasi. Every morning we have classes on Zoom from 7:50 to roughly 8:30. Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, once a day, once a week. Our Zoom channel, if you don't have it, come see me. I'll send you a link to it, but it's in our newsletter. It's a great way to stay connected and here every day. We have a couple festivals coming up. Not this Friday, but the following Friday is Ram Vijayotsava, Dashera, the day that Lord Ram killed Ravana. So we'll be having a celebration that day. And then throughout the month of Kartik, which will begin soon, we also have many festivals during that time. Every evening we'll be able to come here and light a candle for Lord Damodar. But one announcement we want to make, that there's a change. Most people got a calendar, a magnet calendar to stick on the refrigerator. So on there's one edit that we had to make recently, and that is the 24-hour kirtan. It says that it's on October 23rd, but actually we moved it to November 13th. So November 13th, 24-hour kirtan. There was a 24-hour kirtan also scheduled in New Vrindavan as well as Harrisburg, and we wanted to have something exclusively for us here in Philadelphia. So November 13th is the 24-hour kirtan.